My experience with the Vipassana retreat. I've always been curious about meditation since a young age and what it does to the human body and mind. And living in Thailand, I finally decided to do a long-term meditation retreat. This retreat was in Northern Thailand in a temple called Wat Patamua. I did it for 7 days. With this particular temple, being silent is optional, but I chose to do it in silence. As soon as I checked into the temple, I took my phone, put it on airplane mode, turned it off, and put it under my bag in the closet. And I decided to not look at my phone until the end of the 7 days. And the format of the retreat was like this. Every morning at 5:30 a.m., the monks would ring the bell. And this served as a natural alarm clock. So I would wake up, hear the bell, go to the bathroom, and then go on for morning meditation. And the first thing we would do is we would actually kneel down and wait for the monks to come. And what we do is we give them alms. So in traditional Buddhism, a monk cannot actually purchase anything. They cannot go to a store or a shop and purchase food. Instead, the way they operate is the people around them need to give them alms. It's kind of like an offering in church, but here we're actually giving them the food that they're going to eat. Now, at this particular temple, they had the offerings ready for us. What that means is we would line up and each of us would get a tray with food on it, and the monks would walk by one, and we would give them the alms. And later on, they would eat these alms for breakfast. At the end of the alms giving, it was time for morning meditation. So one monk would lead us, meaning he would be sitting at the front. We would all take a mat, put it on the ground, and sit there for about 40 minutes. And in the beginning, it was incredibly hard because my mind that likes to be distracted, move from one thought to the next, wasn't used to sitting there and concentrating on one thing for such a long period of time. Don't get me wrong, I tried meditation in the past. I tried apps like Headspace, where they would do 10-minute guided meditations, but I never did anything more than 10 minutes. So sitting there for 40 minutes was like torture. My mind was going all over the place. But the first 5 minutes are the most difficult. That's when it's really hard to calm your mind down and get into that state of Zen. But after 5 minutes, you kind of get the hang of it and it starts to get easier. Something that I learned in meditation is it's actually impossible to turn your mind off. The human brain is incredible. It's constantly thinking. And this actually is what allowed us to survive. Even in a resting state, our brains are constantly thinking of new innovations, new ideas, problems. We're basically just working constantly in our brains. And in our natural habitat of being hunter-gatherers or even farmers, this actually comes to serve us because we don't have excess thoughts. But the problem with the modern age and information technology, like social media, is we're flooded with dopamine and ideas that are simply not important. Who cares what's happening in a celebrity's life? How does that affect me? Or even politics. I know it's nice to be in the know, but honestly, after reading 1 or 2 articles, how does it affect our own lives? So with this constant bombardment of information, it's actually not serving us at all to be busy with our thoughts. And that's why even more important today than a long time ago is meditation, because it gives us our minds that time to be still and rest. You wouldn't turn on a computer and leave it on for years, right? You would occasionally shut it down and let the processors rest so that they can function better and last longer. It goes the same with our brains. Most of us, especially nowadays, never give our brains a single break ever. We're either working, talking to friends, or scrolling through social media. So what the monks taught me at the retreat is to not try to turn your brain off, but to focus on one object of meditation at a time. And the most common method they teach in Buddhist temples is focusing on your breath. So that means when you inhale, put your focus on observing your stomach rise, and when you exhale, observing your stomach fall. Or if that doesn't work for you, focus on your nostrils. When you breathe in, focus on the air going up your nostrils, and when you breathe out, focus on the air coming out. If you concentrate on your nostrils or your stomach, over time you'll notice your thoughts slow down and you'll be able to catch them as they come. What do I mean by catch? A good analogy that one of the monks told me is that our thoughts are like clouds. Clouds are ever changing, ever moving. Most of the time, we don't know where they're gonna come from. Are they gonna come from the east or the west? We have no clue, it's different every day. Just like clouds, our thoughts are temporary. They come and they go. But the problem with most of us is we follow those thoughts. It's like laying down and just looking at clouds pass by and staring at them and being fixated on them when you're missing out on seeing other parts of the view. And it goes the same with our minds. We get a distracting thought out of nowhere, and most of us don't know how to detach from that thought. We follow it and observe it and constantly go with it. And then the next thought comes and we concentrate on that and it goes. And then the next thought and the next. And this is why we feel so distracted all the time, especially with social media. These thoughts come at record-breaking speeds now. It's like a cloud passing by every 2 seconds and you're focusing on it. And with this kind of monkey brain, and that's a Buddhist term to describe our brains, like how a monkey jumps and moves constantly, how are we ever going to concentrate on what matters? So meditation isn't just this weird thing that Buddhists and spiritual people do. It's essential in all endeavors of life. The most successful businessmen that I know take time out of their day to meditate so that they can learn how to concentrate. Some of the top athletes in the world practice meditation regularly so that they're more focused during training. It's really like a life hack, because once you learn to concentrate on one thing, you understand that that's actually the only way that you can progress in anything. A big thing that people talk about nowadays is something called flow state. Oh, I'm flowing really well. And there's even apps out there like Pomodoro counters to help you concentrate. But the thing is, concentration is a skill like everything else. You need to practice it on a regular basis. And the best way to do that is meditation. Another key thing is concentrating on one object in meditation. This is actually called Samadhi. It's not unique to Buddhism. Samadhi is practiced also in Hinduism, and it's actually an ancient Sanskrit practice. And what that means is you focus on one thing and you meditate on it. But that's different from Vipassana, and I'll get to that soon. So after morning meditation, it's time for breakfast. The monks would start eating the alms that we just gave them. They would be the first to eat. And then they would open the canteen. It's kind of like a buffet line where you can go and get your meal. In traditional Buddhist temples, you only get 2 meals a day, and you have to actually stop eating at 11 a.m. The rest of the day, you can have water and other liquids, but you can't actually eat or chew anything physical. So we would start with that first meal. It was pretty light. They had some meat, so it's not like this vegetarian thing that a lot of Westerners think about. They encourage us always to not be too full, to eat a moderate amount, because Buddhism is what they call the middle path. A lot of their teachings are very practical, meaning don't go too extreme, don't overindulge, but don't restrict yourself too much. I would eat about until 60 to 70% fill, and then I would stop eating. And then after that, we would have a short break. If you are not silent, what that means is you can talk to other people. But since I was choosing to be silent, I would spend my time walking around the meditation center. This particular one is beautiful. There's limestone mountains surrounding it. It's Northern Thailand, so there's this cool, chill air, a nice breeze. The center also had a library, so I would read books on Buddhism to learn some more. After this break, it'd be time for a short lecture and then midday meditation. The senior monk, who speaks good English, would come and sit down, and he would explain the basics of Buddhism. And something interesting I learned here is that Buddhism at its root is actually not a religion at all. It's more of a philosophy. So one of the interesting things at this particular retreat that I went to is there was actually a Christian Buddhist monk. And I know that sounds like an oxymoron, but I'll get into that. So a religion like Christianity or Islam is a way of seeing God and worshiping God, and also a set of principles and a practice to have connection with God. But Buddhism at its core is a philosophy because it's more about how you live your own life. Yes, there is a metaphysical element, but that's actually not emphasized that much. Buddha's teachings are always about self-sustenance. He says, do you want to fix your own life? Then look at yourself first. Versus religion in the traditional sense means relying on God and seeking help from God. And that is the biggest differentiator with Buddhism. Even Buddha himself says, don't pray to me, fix your own problems. You can model yourself after my teachings because I put in the work to reach enlightenment, but I'm not special. You could also reach enlightenment. by practicing these principles and practices. So that was the TLDR that I learned through these afternoon Buddhist sessions. And then to change it up, we would not do sitting meditation. Sometimes we would do walking meditation. A younger monk would lead the way. It was basically like a stroll through the entire meditation center, but at a very slow pace. And the object of meditation here is your own steps. So he would emphasize to every step you take to feel your heel touching the ground, and slowly the middle of your foot, and then your toe. And then to feel that same sensation on the other foot, your heel, middle of the foot, and toe. And to really focus on that, making every step count. I'm not gonna lie, in the beginning it was very boring because I could walk that entire meditation center in probably 5 minutes if I walked at a brisk pace. But because we're walking at this insanely slow pace, it took 40 minutes. But halfway through, it was very freeing because my mind was off of everything else. I was just solely focused on every single step. And what this taught me is you can apply meditation to every aspect of your life. If you're doing a task at work and you're working on a spreadsheet, for example, if you drown out everything else and focus on the exact cell that you're working on, the keys that you're typing, and put your focus on what matters, then you're able to work at a much higher quality. It goes the same for conversations. If you're talking to someone, instead of having your thoughts jumbled and thinking of what to say next, if you're engaged with that person and what they're saying and trying to absorb the content or the context that they're giving you, you become a much better conversationalist. So this concept of meditation can be applied to everything you do in life. And that's what walking meditation taught me. Some other days we would do lying meditation. This is something that Buddha himself actually did. If your back is in pain or you don't want to do sitting meditation, you could do lying meditation. And that doesn't mean you're sleeping. Sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, I did fall asleep. But what that means is you lay down either flat on your back or on your side, and same thing, you concentrate on your breath, the inhale and exhale. And for me, this was the hardest form of meditation because the temptation to fall asleep was always there. But I noticed with this one, it was actually the most meditative if you don't fall asleep, because you don't have the back pain and the leg cramps that happen from the sitting meditation. After the midday meditation, we would eat lunch. It would be similar to breakfast. I was always tempted to store some away for the evening to eat at evening meditation, but I challenged myself to actually follow the rule. So I would eat a little more because personally for me, I have trouble falling asleep when I'm hungry. So I would eat till about 80–90% fill. After this, we get a longer break. So the evening meditation would be later on, around sunset, around 6:30. So we would have the whole day to relax, talk to monks, read books, and same thing as the morning break. It's up to you. You could do whatever you want. So I would walk around the center, take naps, drink coffee, read books. And again, I cannot tell you guys enough how spectacular this meditation center is. And there's a lot of great meditation centers across the entire country, not just here. And you don't even need to come to Thailand to find a Vipassana meditation retreat. They're offered in every single country, probably in the world. So I'm sure there's one very close to you. So it was nice just taking things slow and not being distracted with what I have to do with work or having to pull on my phone, worrying about who messaged me. And I was able to completely just be to myself, relaxed. Probably for the first time since before the internet, which for me was probably 10 or 11 years old. I've been on AIM since I was 12, so I didn't feel that kind of calm since childhood. They would ring the bell for evening meditation, and for evening meditation we would do some Buddhist chanting before. I personally was not a fan of this because I want to know what I'm saying, especially if it's a chant or a song, because I really believe in manifestation and energy. And if I don't understand something, I don't want to be putting it out to the universe. I think I want to know what I'm putting out first. I was sitting there, but I did not actually chant because they had the Sanskrit words, then I guess the Thai alphabet to represent that Sanskrit, and then English romanization. I didn't want to actually incant something that I don't know. After the evening chants, we would do another 40-minute sitting meditation. At night, it's the hardest because of the mosquitoes. So I was at this retreat in December when it's actually the dry season and it's cold. But even then, there was always mosquitoes buzzing around. So what I did was I covered myself completely in a quilt. They would have some quilts available because it was very cold, and I would wear socks because otherwise the mosquitoes would come and just start biting my ankles, finding small crevices and biting my hands. And of course, it's like a buffet for them. There's 20 people sitting absolutely still and it's sunset, right? So it's prime mosquito time. So that's just something to be aware of if you do decide to do this, is take some things to cover your head. I had a hat to cover my ears. The only thing that wasn't covered was my nose and my face. And miraculously, they did not bite here, but the rest of my body was covered because of the mosquitoes. And in Northern Thailand, this time of year, it was pretty damn cold as well. So the quilts also helped me to stay warm. Something else that I want to mention is the amount of pain that you'll feel. There's a saying in Buddhism also that life is pain. And that might sound a little sadistic, and I didn't understand it before, but now I do. Everything in life, if you're doing something significant, requires some kind of pain. An example is, let's say you're building a house and you're going through actually laying it brick by brick, hammering nails, moving cement. Your body's gonna feel sore and you're gonna feel resistance, but that's life. The cool thing about meditation is you start noticing the small aches and pains in your body from even doing something as simple as sitting. Because most of us, when we're sitting on our desk, we fidget or we get up and move. To actually sit there and be still for 40 minutes, for me, I felt so much pain on my lower back, especially after multiple days. So much pain on my legs from being crossed, pain on my ankles from touching the floor. And I learned that even pain is something like our thoughts. It comes and goes. And instead of attaching yourself to it like a thought, if you just observe the pain from a detached distance and say, okay, my back hurts, or my legs hurt, but not be too in it, not saying like, oh, my back, oh, my leg. Just say, okay, acknowledge it. I feel pain in my back, and just observe it. Watch it as a witness. And you sit there, and after a few minutes, you'll notice the pain kind of disappears. And it's not that our body stops being in pain, it's more like our mind gets used to it. Then after a while, I didn't feel it anymore. And ironically then, I would feel the pain in my knee, and the same process. Then I observe the pain. I say, okay, my knee hurts. And what I found with this is I started naturally doing the body scan meditation that Headspace was teaching, only I wasn't forcing it. It was happening naturally because the pain would move all throughout my body and I was able to just observe and watch it. And after evening meditation, it's time for bed. And what's cool about that is I was able to experience life in the old days where humans would actually wake up and sleep with the sun. Dawn meant you woke up to work at the farm, and after a hard day's work, when the sun starts setting, you eat and you go to sleep. This is how humans have lived for millions of years before modern technology. So at this retreat, I was able to get a taste of that. And I have to say, it's way more natural than you think. Because after a long day of, frankly, doing nothing, but also not being distracted by cheap dopamine from my phone, I was actually able to fall asleep around 8 p.m. and I was tired. It was some of the best quality sleep I ever got. No blue lights, no electronics, no distractions. So my mind at night would just shut off. There were some nights where I did struggle. I think what's hard about meditation is a lot of thoughts and emotions that we normally hide with distractions and activity. These things come up. And I was able to learn a lot about myself, a lot about my worries, my ambitions, my regrets. And these are thoughts that, again, on a day-to-day basis, I'm too busy to think of, too busy. I also was able to uncover a lot of deep repressed emotions. For me personally, these were emotions of heartbreak, unfulfilled love that I had in the past. These are emotions that I buried deep, and I didn't allow myself to actually feel anything romantic since these initial heartbreaks. And during the meditation retreat, these emotions started coming up, and for the first time in years, I felt alive again. And since that moment, actually, I'm able to feel romantic emotions again that I didn't allow myself to feel for many years. So that's another benefit of being in this meditative state, is you're able to learn about yourself more with these hidden and repressed thoughts and emotions. This is another concept that the monks taught us during the midday lecture. And what Vipassana is, it actually means to know yourself. So there's a state of meditation where you focus on one object long enough. You enter another state where you're able to observe yourself observing that object of meditation. Sounds super trippy. I was actually able to briefly touch this state for, I would say, about maybe 5 minutes, and it was all the way in day 6. So it took basically 5 full days of continuous meditation to reach this state. And even then, I only tasted it for 5 minutes. It was almost like an out-of-body experience. It felt like I observed myself from behind me, and I saw myself in a very objective manner, meaning I saw all my flaws, but also my talents and my strengths as if I was a third person. And why this is interesting is most of us are in our heads, or we personalize ourselves too much, which we should. In a sense, we're all main characters of our own lives, but we also tend to take this too far sometimes. We over dramatize and make our problems too important. Or sometimes we have an ego, both positive and negative, where we downplay our strengths or we amplify them. And that was some deep insight that is really rare to find, especially for yourself. I personally work with life coaches, and they're able to see these things objectively for me. My coach likes to call them blind spots. But in this state of Vipassana, I was able to see my own blind spots for myself. So that was very powerful, even though it was only 5 minutes. Meditation is something that I definitely want to do more of. I would love to reach this state of Vipassana again. Since then, this was 2020, I have not been able to reach that state again. That's all on me, right? I haven't been meditating enough. So those are my takeaways from my 7-day Vipassana meditation retreat in Thailand. I highly recommend meditation for everyone. I don't think it's just for a certain type of people. I think if you have attention problems like ADHD, or you're working through something or in a crisis or have confusion, actually that's a better time to try meditation, because that's exactly what it's meant to help with. Is it going to be easy? No. You're going to have to wrestle yourself a lot in your thoughts. You're going to have to face some hard truths. You're going to be in physical pain, but you'll be able to finally calm your mind down, give your brain a break, and possibly be able to see yourself objectively. If you haven't tried a meditation retreat yet, I highly recommend you sign up and give it a try. And if a retreat seems too daunting for you, try something small. Try a 5-minute guided meditation by Headspace, or simply turn your phone on airplane mode, set an alarm for 5 minutes, and just sit there and be still and focus on your breath. Have you tried meditation? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more content like this.
Hello.